FETO durante tempo de resistência, haluknar ohin, sira sai ponte para informação, sira lori, por exemplo, hal tem katak kilat musang, itanya falintil sira, sira lori informação, lembra que FETO de participação não em plena durante tempo de naval. Agora, ohin loron, halo noi pila fali lia fuang husi líder ida husi India, Nehru, sai primeiro presidente Iha India. Nian kata depois de luta da liberdade desse país ida, labeli hein kata ka FETO sei retam buat hutoto ni be FETO hakarak ia bandeja.
One of the issues we see now in Timor-Leste is actually the organized crimes.
Yes.
It's happening now. What do you think the implications of organized crimes have on the women or in people in general in Timor-Leste? What does it say about our country actually?
I think first of all, particularly for women, I think it's important that women really take note of this issue and this challenge. That it's not regarded as an issue that only involves the security forces, that involves authority. But I think we should, each of us, really look at the implications of this issue. If you recall, last year we had the UNODC report, we had this very, I think, scary manifest that was put out by a senior minister, really spelling out how organized crime may be influencing the institutions of state. So we're talking about state sovereignty. If we allow organized crime to really infiltrate our institutions, then our institutions really are not going to be focusing on how they can improve people's lives and the services that are required for people.
Do you think jovem sira dalam malak esperança ba iha líder político sira tamba sa ida maksira ni programa hirap rin maksira kolyasay durante sira ni kampanya dala barak sira lahala. Se quando ainda nem acontece de unir Timor-Leste, o insama ita belahasay fal espírito de esperança e jovem sira cara que candidato balon beke fom.
I think it's true. One of the issues that I think has to be addressed, I think, in the next elections, really is the integrity of the leaders.
Por curiosidade, itinawday sa lilibotante sira, hingela ato mana Milena pronuncia botruma konaba mana Milena disponibilidade ato kandidata antan ba iha eleição presidencial 2027. Hello everyone, welcome back to Becoming, a place dedicated to help you become better, more productive, and more purposeful in life. Di at episode ohin loron niya, ita yung special guest ida nebeke hawat mira tebes nebeke sa one of the influential voices in Timor-Leste, nebeke ni kontribusaw makashtebes by desenvolvimento nasional Timor-Leste niyan. Tanay no further ado, so welcome to Becoming. Mana Milena, welcome to Becoming. It's an honor to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you. I mean, I've seen you online, I've seen you talk, and I actually inspired by how you talk to people, how you engage with people, and I love that. That is why it's a pleasure to actually call you, come on the podcast to have a conversation with me. So, but to begin with the context, with the topic that we're going to explore, specifically women leadership and also politics landscape in Timor-Leste, how karakusu into ang konaba mana. Sa idama mana hakarak Emma at ganyo si conversation dane. If people watch this conversation or dialogue dane, sa ida maksila bele hetang si dialogue dane.
Hanoi buat ruan ebe hanoi importante tebes. Husi hani experiência rasik, husi hani percurso rasik, importância valores, princípios, nudar princípios guiadores para a meio da minha vida. Husi hani experiência, hani pai ou mãe, sempre hanoring valores bahau. Primeiro, quando vai serviço, kata ka labele moi, ba serviço sei de date makita halu. Hau urluk serviço no iha restaurante, hamos mesa, serve ema, fasibikan, ne halu parte hani percurso serviço nian. Nema kau hanoing kata que importante ba ita labele tau ka moi serviço sei direito ma kita halu. Também sempre aprende katak não ma ka batira na beita devia moi. Mas serviço sei direito, serviço digno. Questão de seluk, nebe hauni pai sira pai ho mãe hanoring hau. Hauni pai sempre dihan katak osamian quando puro, mesmo kita na bem, sempre osamian.
Sim.
E bahau irene significa integridade, valores nebe importante, vai tacar meeting, hanesan honestidade, respeito, ética, nema ka hauna importante teves e hau hen katak tuir conversa nebe ita tuhalu, quando ita kulia com a liderança, ita kulia com a participação política, valores serne importante teves liliu e a contexto irene.
Sim. Thank you very much. So you were born in Timor-Leste and then you grew up in Australia.
That's correct.
And then I would like to ask if, in a perspective where o insay tabot ni hari ko na ba tratamento ba feto sira i Australia kumpara ko Timor-Leste? What are the differences? O será que iya similarities balong?
I think there are commonalities, unfortunately, when we're talking about the situation of women, even though we may be speaking about slightly more advanced societies and perhaps different economic situations. But I think the underlying challenges remain. We may be talking about women in Australia who have different lifestyles and women here in Timor. But I think the challenges remain in terms of violence against women, in terms of patriarchy, in terms of the challenges that women face in their careers, even in political participation. So I think it's very important to look at those commonalities and what actually or why are women faced with these challenges in different contexts.
Yeah, totally agree. So based on your perspective, what does the concept of good women means to you? Because I feel like in Timor-Leste society, people often treat women, or they look at the women that you have to become a good woman. But what kind of good women we're looking at based on the experiences they've already exposed to?
I think the question means different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that to be a good woman, even if you're working, or particularly if you're working outside as a professional woman, you have to fulfill those care duties that society attributes to women. If we look at gender construction of roles, then those attributions obviously are not the same for women as they are for men. So I think that's the first thing. A good woman sometimes is a woman who's able to juggle both career as well as duties that society attributes to women. Being a caregiver, being responsible for the home. These are things that women, I think, are challenged by. How can you meet those expectations? I'm not saying that it's the right. I'm not saying that it's right because obviously there is discrimination there. But I think these are the challenges that women are faced with. For me, the definition of a good woman, especially if you put it together with leadership, I think it's about integrity. I think it's about ethical behavior. I think it's about being concerned with the common good. I think it's about not engaging in corruption, not engaging in familiarism, being really very clear about what you want to achieve, and especially if you look at leadership, women's leadership, women's participation in politics, I think being very, very clear where you want to head, what are your goals and what you want to achieve.
Okay. Do you think that women in politics are less corrupted than men in politics?
I think women, and I think it depends also on which women.
Yeah.
But I think women are of high integrity. I think women are concerned with the common good. I think women are sometimes corrupted in terms of serving the interests of their families or their friends or the political party that they may belong to. But I think women generally are, how shall I say it, have high integrity.
Okay, thank you very much. That links to the expectations that I think society have on women. What kind of expectations that you believe should be disappear into the society when it comes to women? You mentioned about dalam rumah feto sira sehanisang responsabilidade uma, and then they have to look after their job as well. They have to perform well, and then they have to sacrifice the quality time with the family. But then again, society sometimes demand more women to do more. So do you think that there is something that has to disappear when it comes to treating women in the society?
Hanoi katak iha batruan é bem importante para eles. Primeiro, hanoi katak a sociedade tem que compreender katak ita lei a posição ida a tubele desconta contribuição soren kusi ita nia população. Tamba citareba demográficos, feto romani mais ou menos 50%, 50%. Cara que a diferença é tuan. Nema que sociedade ida nessa itanian, sociedade ida nebe ita precisa sai husikiak, ita precisa enfrenta desafios oin, nebe ohin loron hoje para Timor, maibe para país sira barak, lili o país sira em vias de desenvolvimento. Hanoi que afeta a participação importante para eles. Nem ida. Segundo, hanoi que precisa questiona e precisa falar com o sistema patriarcal, nebe tal limites para afeta a participação, tal limites em termos de seida que afeta bele halu, nebe lá nessan romani. How sempre usa exemplo ida, frase ida nebe itateni, Iha Timor continua na fatin buras, continua na fatin passa, pois geração ida para geração ida selo, mas que hanoi katak ohin loron, ho meios de comunicação social nebe karik loki, emani hanoi, karik usa husi jovem sira tu bele reta informação. Frase nema ka ida feto hakat barak, mani hakat naruk. Hanoi ida nene, bahau exemplo ida. Konaba seira mas kita precisa halako, iha ita na sociedade. Preconceitos, estereotípicos, nebe ita iha, konaba feto romani neknar. Atu bele permite kata feto bele desenvolve tu e potencialidade toma nebe feto iha e contribui para o desenvolvimento iha tenerai.
Sim, agora ainda estamos na Iha, eu acho que 24 anos de independência. Do you think something has changed when it comes to women leadership in the politics, in the society? Também está tendo que feito na participação ba Iha resistência durante 24 anos mas makasta tebes. Sira balong tem gila ko sa família, huli hata independência. So, do you think that women are fighting harder now compared to women in the past?
I think we need to consider women's contribution in each of these phases of our country's phase. I think women made a very important contribution during the years of the resistance. Feito durante o tempo de resistência, haluknar oin sira sai ponte para informação, sira lori, por exemplo, how tem que kilat musang, itania falentil sira.
Yes.
Sira a lor informação, lembra que afeta a participação não em plena durante o tempo de naba. Agora, o loron, halo não em fila fale, liefuan husi líder ida husi Índia, Nehru, sai presidente, primeiro presidente Iha Índia. Nian kata depois de luta ba liberdade husi país ida, la bele henka taka feto sei retam buat hototo nebe feto hakarak e a bandeja. Nei te kulia kona ba liderança, nei te kulia kona ba participação feto nia. Tamba luta ba feto nia participação, feto nia emancipação sei continua. Nema kau noin kataka ohin loron ita e continua e obstáculos na fati. Mas que ohin ita iha feto nebe presidente do parlamento, Também ita ia quota, ita ia feto número ida, pelo menos 30% ia parlamento, ita ia feto número membros do governo, mas how não kata kita ser autom. Hen kata ka importante te tebes e eleições tuir mai, ita bela hare feto ira bel sai presidente. Feto ira bela lidera itini país, e loja lidera número simbólico, mas bem dedicação toma, capacidade toma, tu promove mudança, promove desenvolvimento, e bem precisa de ter larang.
All right. Do you think that women empowerment dalam rumah for espaço ba emang atu memanjakan veto? For example, I give an example here. Sometimes we think that we give so many space to women, but then we don't look at the qualities of women. Itarebo quantidade, veto sedet bele. Antara Indonesia sai problema mos paya ita nian desenvolvimento nasional. Ita hare ia caso balon nebe que agora down veto balon iha nível nebe que alto me bela bela exerce ho di dia, una responsabilidade se nebe que ia. So what do you think about that? How can you define women empowerment in Timor-Leste context, and what kind of women we're looking at now?
Hanoi ia betua quando tinang ruanulu liuba quando a luta ba quota ba feto ia tomar as decisões e parlamento né tamba a minha cara cria expectativa que a feto nós tem que participa e tomar a decisão e a política nem mas tempo na ba luta né ba quota também te colhia quando ba números mas nós deitida né a expectativa maca vai hira e tem representação feto e tá muda para ir a passo seguinte em termos de contribuição nebe feto precisa halo e a parlamento por exemplo tuir leis nebe sira bele introduz nebe favorece feto bele revê leis nebe discrimina contra feto bele hare konaba discussão programa governo nian hare sama bele hetan benefício barak liu ba feto e hau não kata ohin loron it halu it wan idanet yona mas hau não kata transformação completa ni te ser auto ite sei focus na fatin ba número e hau não kata ohin loron feto balo halua tia hau sama ka feto consegue hetan fatin ke parlamento luta botida e razão tambasa agora hau não kata importante maka ita precisa e afeto loja qualquer feto ita precisa e afeto e fato em loja capacidade possibilidades nebe loja ba continua lori tania nação ba oin how preocupa tebes quando ita hare exemplos balo quando a instrumentalização feto tamba how não kata ka e situação políticas balo ita subar ituan e a luta emancipação feto importância feto na participação e liderança importância empoderamento feto atu dudu agenda sircelo agora não kata instrumentalização feto batira nebe ita tem consciência e ita tem que compreender how sama que irene lao também loj irene ma kita cara ba feto na participação e liderança feto na participação e tomar a decisão ita cara empodera feto a tubele participa plenamente com capacidade de tomar e halo diferença duni em termos de ser mas que te precisa halo a tolori tem noção ba oin e loja ser mas que é uma grupo ira cara dudo a tu simbolicamente tal feto ira ba mas loja feto mas que Hanoi loja feto mas que contribui mas bem sira praticamente usa feto nessa marioneta
yeah I think that is important that I think nowadays we consider women to partake in political leaderships or to actually develop the country. But I think in Timor-Leste context, as a young people myself, as a young person myself, as a young woman, I feel like it's really required, men and women to have equalities to actually lead in the country. Selain how no markapaso. Dan how no dala barak jovem sira linha voice social media na beke dala barak amirona. All right.
Yes, sure. Primeiro, how fear e how hare katak jovens nessa ita jovens sira selo bem capacidade de borlos bem contribui mais para a política bem contribui para as instituições públicas mas infelizmente batira na beita hare mas kita se dá o que é ema e fato em loja politização partidarização e tem instituições públicas bahau preocupação bot também significa que jovens sira na bem e qualidades na bem a capacidade tarik lá e a cor política nebe desejável nebe e a corrente que mainstream da down lá a oportunidade nessa sira nebe tarik lá a experiência tarik lá a know-how mas também sira cor política los então é maduro sira balaran é uma preocupação botida e há não que desafio botida nebe ita precisa hasor sama kita despartidariza ita ni sistema despolitiza ita ni sistema to forduni oportunidade para jovens sira nebe e a capacidade de bem contribuir
Sim,
inovação criatividade toma nebe jovens sira ia
sim, how no ainda nem precisa do ni. Alright, I wanted to ask you about your personal journey. Itaharé kata dihan ia família dinâmico e didak lahanesa. Balong treat feto diak, balong treat feto ladin diak, balong patriarchal. So based on your experiences, how do your parents treat you as women?
Haunia pai ho mãe sempre hanoring hau kata claia limites sira nunca de ambahau kata tamba ofeto ou la bel halo ireneca la bel halo itnaba em primeiro lugar para o pai e mãe educação chave educação é importante teves sira sempre dudu hau tu bele dedica haunian ba hauni educação ba bele het informação Roma né bele sai útil e hauni vida e hauni carreira agora hau tem que loja fácil tamba expectativa husi sociedade vai bem forte teves mas que a família de nilaran lá em Hofein bele compreende malo bele faz serviço bele assume responsabilidade nessa caregiving for example bahare lavare hare uma larang dala barak sociedade nia percepção família sira e sorin né percepção lá nessa e how não kata percepção né continua mas how não kata primeiro acordo entre lá em Hofein importante teves em termos de how sama que respeita malo how sama que ele considera malo how sama que permite mas que o casamento ni larang kata ida ele continua na fatin
Sim.
Nia dalang bele continua na fatin atu bele realiza bele realiza nia potencial tomak mas loja fácil também how não kata pressão resilier né susceptibles.
All right. I'd like to ask you about there's a concept where we need to think about what is in the future. We have this progressive mindset, but do you still believe that there is some traditional values that we need to uphold to when it comes to treating women, when it comes to women in Timor-Leste? Tama dala barak, ita hanuin katak conceito de feto né dala barak ya prática, ya discussão lugu kira beke ami halo. Kolega sira mos dala barak, we want to compete with a man, want to be like a man, something like that. So, based on your perspective, valores tradicional sa ida mak ita precisa conserva, ita precisa protege when it comes to women.
I would first of all question whether we want to be like men. I think each of us finds their own path. I think based on the values that we have, I think this is where we want to head. I think the objective is not necessarily to compete with men, but I think the objective is to allow each of us to really reach our full potential. I think that's the objective, and to maximize that contribution that each of us is able to make. I think sometimes it can be perceived as such, that if a woman is very outspoken, if a woman or women's leadership, for example, that's actually threatening to men.
To men, yeah.
Because we're either undermining men's authority. We're competing, as you said, or perceived to be competing with men. And I think that really raises a number of different reactions, which I think sometimes is actually quite negative. I think the important thing is to really be true to the values and to really be clear about what you want to do.
Yeah.
I think the service for me is a fundamental. I think, as I mentioned before, the values that you use to guide your actions, having the capacity to always reflect, having that inner reflection about what motivates you and why you're actually doing this. Because I also understand that sometimes it's very easy to be, what's the word? To be waylaid from the path that you have chosen.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to show you a video. I think this is a very interesting video that I saw. Maybe with a little laptop. This video is actually from a CEO of PepsiCo. I think she raised a very interesting issue here that I'd like to hear from your perspective. Thank you. Yes. So, yeah, maybe I can put it here so that you can watch.
But I think there's a bigger issue that we have to talk about. I don't believe women help women enough in the workplace.
We couldn't do what? Sorry.
But I think there's a bigger issue that we have to talk about. I don't believe women help women enough in the workplace. And if there is one thing that we can do for ourselves is get the best behavioral psychologists to design programs that address this issue on why do women compete with women too much in the workplace. Because when I hear young girls say today, God, I wish I was in an office where there were more men, or I wish my boss was a man because it's tough to work with a lot of women. I'm going, are you nuts? You should be thrilled you're working with so many women. But then I hear the stories and I go, what's wrong with us women? We ought to be helping each other out. And I'll give you an example, and this is from my own experience at PepsiCo. Some of you may have heard this before. Many times we're in a presentation and the guy is giving a presentation, not going so well. We call a break. They go to the men's room. Hey, Bill, that was awful, your presentation. Fix it, man, don't gesture so much. A little fist bump, they come back and Bill's doing fine, okay? A woman does a terrible job and you walk into the women's room and you go, Mary, that was terrible. What were you doing? God, she's so bitchy. No, I'm trying to give you constructive feedback. So what we do is we assume that feedback from women means something is wrong. But if that same feedback came to us from men, we're willing to accept it. Or worse still, we don't give the feedback to women the way we should. Even though we know that they're not doing well, because we go, good, she's struggling, I can take that position. I think we have to change our whole approach to supporting each other, taking advice from each other, seeking it out. One thing I feel very badly about, all my mentors in life have been male. But then I sit back and say, maybe
Yeah. So what do you think about this one? She said that women sometimes competing with women, and we don't like to see other women rise up. And then women don't tell the truth when it comes to feedback, and they feel sort of like offended when they hear the constructive feedback. So do you think this issue is also applied in domestic context?
No, absolutely. I think first of all, I think women are so, are so protective of the space because of the struggle to actually get there, that they forget that the most important quality really when you're relating to other women is solidarity, being able to be in solidarity with other women and to be supportive of other women, not to feel threatened by especially younger women. If you're an older woman who's reached a certain position, that you can actually benefit by bringing women along. I think that change in mindset, I think, is really, really important. The other thing that I would like to comment, when we're talking about solidarity and we're talking about women supporting women, One of the things that I've learned I think through very hard means is that women, when we're talking about political participation, women don't necessarily vote for women. I think what has been said here by the CEO, I think of Pepsi,
Yeah, PepsiCo.
I think carries not only within the framework of a company, for example, but I think it also applies in different areas of life and in politics. I think that's also the same. But I think it's slightly different. I think it's because even for women who have been fighting for women's political participation, for example, I think because of the system that we have created, women will not necessarily support other women because other women don't have power to start off with. The way our system works, if you're not in the in party or if you're not in the government party, not supporting the government party, then you may not get any opportunities once that party wins. So I think all of these dynamics are at play. But I think the bottom line is that I think women need to really be true and to be really understanding of the importance of solidarity, of supporting other women, not to feel threatened. And I think, again, what I mentioned earlier, I think that capacity to reflect all the time on where am I headed, what are my values, what did I start off defending when I started this journey? Am I being true to those principles now? Or am I being waylaid, I think, by the circumstances? And coming back to where it's important to be in terms of what we want to do in terms of women's empowerment, the advancement of women.
Yeah, thank you very much. I raised this question because I personally sometimes feel that as well, and experience that I feel like in a workplace, we women, we don't like to see other women rise up. And I had experienced that when I was in Japan, and I feel like that questioned a lot about whether the empowerment of women is truly reflected in real life or not. Or it just been like just one included women in a leadership, but then we don't look at the values or I'll say the personalities of a woman that it has to be placed when working together. So I think the CEO is actually raising, like she said, that it's important to actually support a woman in a workplace. If you see one woman is down, you have to, talk to her, console her, something like that. But I hope that this actually happening in Timor-Leste. Do you resonate with what she said, or?
Absolutely. I think particularly for women activists, I think it's very important that women are able to actually internalize this fight for women's emancipation. Why are we doing what we're doing? How can we bring young women along? How do we contribute to incremental change that needs to take place? So support, I think, between women, I think, is extremely important. As I said, I think the system that we have at the moment, especially the familiarism, I think all of these mechanisms that we have in place, unfortunately, I think also places great pressure and stress on women, and so much so that I think women forget really the reason why we focus on women's emancipation in the first place, and we allow ourselves to be influenced, I think, by the power structures, by the mechanisms that have been created to really favor men's leadership and men's progress.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the issues we see now in Timor-Leste is actually the organized crimes.
Yes,
it's happening now, and then it's still there are some actually not captured yet or not arrested yet. What do you think the implications of organized crimes have on the women or in people in general in Timor-Leste? What does it say about our country, actually?
I think, first of all, particularly for women, I think it's important that women really take note of this issue and this challenge. That it's not regarded as an issue that only involves the security forces, that involves authority. But I think we should, each of us, really look at the implications of this issue.
Yes.
If you recall, last year we had the UNODC report. We had this very, I think, scary manifest that was put out by a senior minister,
Yes.
really spelling out how organized crime may be influencing the institutions of state.
Yes.
So we're talking about state sovereignty. If we allow organized crime to really infiltrate our institutions, then our institutions really are not going to be focusing on how they can improve people's lives and the services that are required for people. For the Timorese people, the institutions will be shaped in a way that will benefit the continuation of organized crime syndicates in Timor-Leste. We can see that would be a threat, I think, to our security, to our sovereignty. So I think, first of all, I think women really need to look at what is happening.
Yes.
Look at and understand what is happening so that they can also take a position on this. I don't think that what I see in terms of organized crime, I don't think only one institution is able to take care of that. I think it will take, really a fight from people, a unified fight that we were able to do, for example, in the years of resistance to really tackle this issue, because I think there's a lot of vested interest. We're talking about organized crime that come in with a lot of money. One of the issues that really scared me when we're considering these crime syndicates, in the UK, for example, the assets that were frozen from organized crime in cryptocurrency itself, we're talking about $30 billion and above. And we're not talking, and this is not talking about yet, or not counting yet, the value of other assets like real estate and so forth. So it's actually quite a lot of money, a lot of interest. Our petroleum fund is what, 19 billion?
19 billion, yeah.
So you understand the scale and the influence that such an organization can have on our people and our institutions.
Yeah, so it actually needs an urgent reaction from the institutions, all institutions, to actually tackle these issues as soon as possible.
I think we need informed and educated public. I think we need an independent investigation to really get at the heart of it, because I think this is beyond just our own security organizations. This is something that's transnational.
Yes.
It's not only in Timor-Leste, but it has roots in other countries. So I think all of that has to be really understood. But I think people who care and are worried about this issue, I think, is one important aspect of the fight.
Yeah. You've talked a lot with young people in Timor-Leste in different aspects. I mean, you touched a little bit about the ASEAN, and then you also touched a little bit about the how can young people be an active agent to change in Timor-Leste. So what advice would you give to a 20 years old to 25 years old young women in Timor-Leste that are still figuring out their life?
I think...
or maybe young people in general. Rather,
I think for young women and young men in particular, especially now that we're part of ASEAN, it means that we're not only competing, I think, between us, between young people in Timor-Leste, but we will also be competing against young people in ASEAN as a whole.
Yes.
So I think education is extremely important. I think make use of the opportunities that you may have in the institutions that you may be enrolled in. I would say read a lot. I think that is a key. I know that some young people don't like to read, but you can really enrich your mind, expand your experience through reading. I think language is an important aspect of what we need to skill ourselves, especially English at the moment, because of our accession to ASEAN.
Yep.
And look at language as a communication. So I think the general message really is to be curious, to really research, not only being content with the very superficial knowledge, but when we're talking about ASEAN, for example, I think really specialize in ASEAN. Try to find out what ASEAN is about so that you understand what the opportunities are.
Yes.
And then you equip yourself with the skills that are needed to compete beyond Timor-Leste.
Yes. That actually linked to another question that we know that in upcoming 2 years, we're going to be having our presidential election and also parliament election in 2027, 2028. Ida nito beledian katak eleição ida debema e valor significativo teve para o Estado nação Timor-Leste. Tamba eleição ruane ocorre e tempo no que Timor-Leste sai ONA membro pleno ASEAN nian. E a parte ida, bebe a parte selukmus eleição ruane halau ia tempo ida no que nação balung hetam mesado usi valor demokrasia. Além dane, eleição danemos halau ia agora tahre crise ekonomia ou crise global dan beki agora dang halau hela. Tuir mana Milena nian perspektiva, eleição sa ida mak Timor-Leste iha ko di belah tudo banação sira seluk no mundo relaciona ba lauk eleição nebe mak setio mai.
Oh, no encanta que ita ia buat balung nebe how no encanta que mundo anota em termos de experiência Timor-Leste nian. Em termos de ita ni processo democrático, nebe ita consegue a transição liderança, ita consegue alternância de poder através de sistema ida nebe pacífico, sistema ida nebe democrático, nebe foi oportunidade para ema ida pela expressa nia ang. Mas how não encanta que ia tão batida. Eleição presidencial ou eleição parlamentar, nebe se acontece tina ohin ou tina rua tam. Importante nós também ita ia fazer a transição. Transição se liderança. Ita ni fundadores nação. Ho relação, desculpa, ho sira nebe e a geração do irmão. Nema ka hau no encanta que ita ia oportunidade ida atu bel halo transição ida ne. Transição ida nebe valoriza ema hotu ni contribuição, latau ema ida basoring. Transição ida nebe ita belisai forte liutang, no da nação, belisai unidos liutang. Atu hasoro duni, seira ma kita dihan, em termos de desafios, nebe ita ia, ba ita ne rai ohin loron. Crime organizado, batida nebe ita precisa unidade atu beli hasoro. Nessa instituição ida, que ema ida, se lá consegue, hasoro ameaças com esse crime organizado. Depois, já não encanta que íamos aspecto ida nebe importante nós. Não sabe que também usa eleições rua, né? Atu motiva liutang, atu inspira liutang e tania povo atu beli participa e desenvolvimento básico. Tamba se tarede não dala barak e hau harede ne bahira hau ba município sira, distância entre governo, distância entre estado e povo, naro clós. Nema que resultados eleições do irmão, forma nebe eleições do irmão se conduz, hau no embelemos, factor ira to hak basic liutan, instituições teniam hak basic liutan políticos e teniam ba população.
Sim. Hareba idane será que e âmbito eleição presidencial no parlamentar ni qualidade sa idamak itania presidente da república e mos primeiro-ministro Iha Hodisai vizinho no beke dia baração sira selu liu ASEAN, CPLP, política global, liu política internal. Hanso a doutora senhora Milena Diona kata às vezes tare político sira ladum basic baya base. Então será que dane qualidade ida a qualidade sira que beke ida precisa a líder sira precisa exerce atau sai líder beke efetivo at luar nação dane ba ia vida no bemak dia.
Hanoi aspecto rua. Primeiro, quando ita colhia com as relações internacionais, naturalmente Timor-Leste labele moris mesak. Ita ohin loron ia desafios nebe transnacional, nebe precisa mais de tatuak basic para país sira selo que tu resolve. E tania membro e a ASEAN RASIC significa que kita precisa continua loja de desenvolve relação nebe dia com o país sira selo que se ASEAN. Mas sama kita bele integra plenamente e a ASEAN. Mudar país ira soberano, país ira nebe bele contribui mais para desenvolvimento da economia regional, país ira nebe bele mais contribui a pilar ASEAN com a segurança, com a política, etc. Né aspecto ira. Agora, bahau ira importante mas que qualidades de liderança nebe ita precisa nessa dia, a basic governação para o povo, o povo bele fier fila fale, ou continua fier, ou metem fier, político nain, governante sira. Primeiro, a tu bele resolve seus problemas. Segundo, a tu bele inspira sira, tu continua a participar mais e desenvolvimento. E terceiro, nessa qualidades que a precisa, a tu hakuak e mahotu, atu bele halau governação ida política ida nebe inclusivo, para ita bele soluciona desafios nebe ita iha. Também se ita iha tinang lima tumai, se ita continua fila potuk bamalu, haunain katak susar tebe já tu ita bele hatang ba ser ma povo precisa em termos de atu hadia ser memórias e atu bos hatang ba desafios nebe tahare usiliur nebe itinerário em frente da down.
Sim. Ita tem katak dados esclarecimento katak ita na população Timor-Leste demograficamente 60% é jovem.
Sim.
Atu labele a impressão ainda nebe que katak eleição tuir mai atu troca ema date, ema A, ema B. Liliu o sama ita bele for oportunidade para jovens sira atu sira mos bele heta moris tebe que dia. Então tudo torane tuir mana Milena ne hare saída mas kita precisa tahu e consideração molok no foi eleição nebe que se tuir mai.
Hanoin para jovens, e hanoin katak jovens sira se ia papel ida nebe decisivo também nesse entendimento demograficamente maior parte maioria jovens se la sala agora ita é pelo menos 60%
Sim.
sira nebe 35 anos vai
Trai.
e grande parte se engloba votantes sira nebe fom votantes sira nebe jovens. Mas que haunain que importante, mas que jovens sira consciente, quando para poder sira nia votos. Nesse entendimento, ita lá vota tu troca de tema, mas bem ita vota para programa, ita vota para seida mas que bele halo, para ita ni rain, para substância. Não é importante debes, nem mas que jovens sira hau encoraja a tu jovens sira bele petu di dia bele duka hateni lolos seida maka partido ida candidato ida representa haremos ba sira nia percurso sira nia percurso ser nia participação contribuição para mudança positiva vai ita precisa haremos quando ba sira nia track record to ohin loron e haunoin katak valores sira nessa dia integridade espírito a tu servir, preocupação ao bem comum. É importante debes para jovens sira mos hare e a liderança nebe bele hatang ba seira ma que jovens sira precisa em termos de criação de postos de trabalho, em termos de desenvolvimento inclusivo, nebe ita precisa revelar desenvolvimento ira nebe lá concentra para dili ignora município sira quando é um processo ne tomac a jovem sira precisa compreender e teto e a tu bele tais de dia ser minha apoio nebe sira se for e eleições sira tu mãe.
Do you think jovem sira dalam rumah com esperança ba iha líder político sira tamba sa ida mak sira ni programa hira pe mak sira kolia sai durante di sira ni kampanye tela barak sira lahala. Secondo ida nima acontece di Iha Timo-Leste o insama ita berhasai fal espírito de esperança e jovem sira cara que candidato baru ni beke fo.
I think it's true. I think what I've heard when I'm having discussions with young people in the municipalities, they have lost, I think, some hope in the capacity of our leadership to really respond to their needs. One of the issues that is raised over and over again is the lack of opportunities for young people, the lack of a merit-based system, so that they're dissuaded and they're disencouraged also from studying, from skilling themselves, because sometimes it's almost as if it doesn't matter. You can be very smart, you can have all the skills that is possible, but that's not how the system works. Because of familiarism, because of how politicized our system is. So I think it's important that leaders are also conscious of this. One of the issues that I think has to be addressed, I think, in the next elections, really is the integrity of the leaders. How can people be certain that the support and the votes that they're giving to different leaders or different political parties is actually going to translate into the change that is needed? So I think all of this, I think, needs to be considered by young people and also by the leadership.
Yeah. How se dok intera di diak, maibe haurona katardehan ia eleição termai, eleição presidencial 2027, a apresentação candidato ou candidata precisa retam mínimo de 20.000 proponentes. Não hira candidato ou candidata né, retam votos menos de 20.000, em vez de Estado uma for subsídio, hanesa ulu, $4 por voto, maibe agora se ida nima implementa de candidato ou candidata né, precisa selo fale by Estado. Hanesa candidata ou candidato presidente sira e nós temos montamos a equipe de sucesso e a município sira. Então tu irmã Milena ni Hanoi ou essa hari regulamento da nema acontece doni essa realidade doni. What do you think would happen?
I think there are two things. I understand that the revisions that have happened to the electoral law, especially the law for the parliamentary elections, requires political parties to have representation in each of the municipalities. And I think for a political party to register, I think they require 20,000 signatures, supporters. For the presidential elections, I understand that it's 5,000 signatures that are required. Now, I understand that there is some discussion about whether the subsidies to the political parties, to candidates, should continue. I think that's part of an ongoing debate. I haven't particularly heard about having political parties or having candidates pay for if they have less than 20,000 votes. But I think it's an issue that I think needs to be carefully considered. We need a system that doesn't deter people from participating and from putting themselves forward as candidates. But we also need a system that really establishes the minimum conditions so that we don't have 50 candidates, for example. I think that will be detrimental to our democracy. I think we need a balance.
Alright, por curiosidade, ita na audiência de votante sira, hingela atu mana Milena pronuncia botruma konaba mana Milena disponibilidade atu candidata antan ba iha eleição presidencial 2027.
Haveli dihan kataka how sempre pronto atu servir ba itani rain ia saída date. How minha candidatura é 2022 tambah espírito irane tambah cara contribui vai ter rain. Em termos de eleição tinang ohin, how noi katak tempo sei to atu hato hato candidatura. Hanoi é importante de dar bahau, maka atu bele rona, husi jovem sira, rona husi FETO, husi comunidade, compreende de dia que seja, maka desafios, seja maka aspiração, husi itania povo, batina lima atumai. Mas husi ane parte sempre pronto a te servir.
Like that. Sa ita tu fila fala ia fatin na nini. Ia 40 anos mais. Ia 2042, let's say, depois da independência. Sa ida mag, manamena hakarakatete ba ia jovem, ba ia população timur-leste tomak.
Ia tina ruanulu atumai?
Sim,
Kada
hatnulu, let's say hatnulu. You can shorten down to ruanulu.
Primeiro, enfim, how se tinang hatnulu atumai hase how se hine, então how se contente bot. How se cria com a saúde. E hamsama que também mantém a saúde. Mas hanoi katak mensagem ne be hanoi importante a tu husik na kirane. Ita iha condição potencial tomak ba ita ne rai bele desenvolve, ba ita ne rai bele hetang situação ida ne be ita hotumei iha ita ne percurso luta ba independência Timor-Leste nian. Importante makirane, ita precisa continua a servir e tania rain, o larang honesto, o transparência, o objetivo ida a continua a servir, bem-estar comum. Importante ba ita consciente quando ba ameaças nebe ita iha, ita nia luta naruk te tebes, atu ita bele to ohin loron. Nema ka ameaça sirne bele lori ita bakotuk. E hauhen kataka tinang ruanulu atumai, contribuição nebe ita ida atu halo, se hameting liutang ita ni soberania, se hameting liutang capacidade ita ni instituições sira atu bele hasoro, seira mak povo precisa sira nia moris loron. E hauhen katakia tinang ruanulu atumai se hautur hine, hau karak maka hare labarik sira bele ia potencial tomak atu to e realiza ser minha mehi lá ia constrangimentos em termos de kiak lá ia constrangimentos em termos de desenvolvimento ira nebe lá hanesa nebe resulta vai ter labarik sira atu hetang malnutrição stunting nebe sai impacto bot e obstáculo bot vai ser o desenvolvimento racial.
Thank you very much, Ana Milena. Sim, how ano yung importante ba sa ito ita continue servir by ita na nasound despite any challenges that we face. So thank you very much for your insights, for your contribution, especially to the country development. Hanis ang joven da how appreciative ho ita botin yan, work ethic ho ita botin yan, dedikasyon sila ho to, ito bot ni commitment to by desenvolvimento na sound Timor-Leste. So thank you very much once again for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So, thank you very much for tuning. How espera ka dito bot sira bele hetang inspiração lubuk kita husi tarinyan oradora Mana Milena. Iha fir ka dito bot sira mas aprende bot barak husi sa idamak Mana Milena hatete ona ba ita hototum. Tang na kita halua na fate akumpanya ami ia bikamin by liking, subscribing and comment ia amin ni podcast. Ita bot sira bela sis bam ni podcast ia YouTube mo Spotify. So thank you very much and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.